What's going on, guys? Big welcome to you all to our channel. We are Team Crushing the Meta, and you're here with D-Boy. I'm here for you guys to talk about Blademaster Standard. As we now know that Soen is revealed and we could build a deck around him. This card is really amazing and it solves like most of the issues that Blademaster had. First, we will talk about this card in comparison to the old Blademaster, then I will show you the complete deck list, and at the end of the video I will show you the combo that you could do with this deck. Alright, so first let's compare the Blademaster Soen to the OG Blademaster. Well, if you have played Blademaster before, or you have seen it or played against it, you know that we pretty much rely on Dragonic Waterfall. Also, we had to take in a first right target to be like the Overlord or the Blademaster Searcher. Why did we need this and why did we need him? It's because the old Blademaster had a lot of flaws. The first flaw that this card has is that it costs you to Soul Blast a grade 3, which means it is not a first right target. And that's why you had to fall back and use these two. And because his first ability gets you a crit and plus 5k, you pretty much could go Force 1, and that's when you want to use your Dragonic Waterfall, because Waterfall loves using Force 1. So pretty much those were the big issues with the deck. It needed a first right target, which makes it less consistent. When Soen was revealed and I read the cards, I had to talk a lot with some of my friends like Chris van der Linde and others from my Facebook friends who told me, whoa, this card actually solves everything. And yes, I have to agree with them, because not only that he does not cost you a Soul Blast of a grade 3, so he's very good first right target, he also does not require you to have the Doa and the Goran to be able to get the Vision Token. If you don't know what the Vision Token is, it's pretty much a grade 3 or a shadow of a grade 3 that you could have on the field by using one of these abilities, and that grade 3 kind of has the drive check, so you could attack with it and it has a drive check. You could also make them in different ways. If you don't have those, just you could find them on Facebook. I always like to make these kind of things that you use because all of the arts are really amazing and it's nice to have all of the Blademasters in one deck. To go back to the comparison between both grade 3s, so his ability is, the first one, he gives himself and all of your other vision tokens, or all of your vision tokens, plus 10k. That happens if your opponent does not have any regards. So it's almost the same as his ability, but his ability gives him 5k in a crit, while his ability gives him and all of the vision tokens plus 10k. So that means that now you could use also Force 2 with him, because he gets power and he gets crit and a little bit of power. So that's good. Using Force 2 is good because now you have options to go Force 1 or Force 2. You could always go Force 1 and then ride into this after that and still make more Force 1s, and then you could go back and ride into your Dragonic Waterfall. That's also the option. That's the option that you use if you want to really go Force 1. If you want to go Force 2, then you pretty much will be spamming these guys one after another, and you will be creating more Force 2 markers for your Vision Token and of course for your Vanguard. So that's when you use Force 1 and Force 2. But most importantly, his ability, as I said, does not require you to have a tech team on the field, which are the Doa and the Goran. They only require you to have nothing. They actually only need to discard 2 cards from your hand to get the Vision Token. If you have the grade 2 and the grade 1 on the field, then you also get to retire your opponent's field. So that's the thing right there, is he is so flexible that and almost everything he's better than the old Blademaster. And that's why people are thinking, hey, we could kind of take all of the old Blademasters out, play on this guy, and we could still play him with Dragonic Waterfall. Well, you could, but you pretty much will be going Force 1, while this guy is actually good with Force 2. So it's pretty much up to you to build the deck that you want to. The deck that I'm building and the deck that I'm showing you today is the deck that is more flexible, the deck that could go Force 1, Force 2, could adapt to different situations, and is also a lot of fun and rewarding to play. So how does this deck look like? Well, we first start with 4 copies of Soen. As I said, this is the perfect first right target, and that does help you along the way to be able to choose to go for Force 1 or Force 2, depending on the matchup, depending if you're playing against Protect, against Excel, against Force, against what clan. You'll need to be able to test this deck and just know your matchups. And that's when this deck again gets rewarding whenever you play it more and more. Then we add in the 2 copies of the old Blademaster. As I said, it's good to have more grade 3s to ride into, especially more Blademasters. So 6 Blademasters, you could bump him up to 7 if you want to, but you could also play in this guy, as I said, because he surges your grade 3. But the card that I want to play, or I do add to the deck, is actually Dragonic Overlord. Dragonic Overlord, the OG, the original one, is amazing because sometimes you don't want to discard the 2 cards. Your opponent has no Regards on the field, you don't want to give them 3 damage right away, you know what's gonna happen next, and the only thing that you want is kind of pressure them a little bit, but not too much. And that's when this guy comes in handy. Sometimes also you don't have the tag team in your hand, you don't have them, you can't get into them, and that's when you think, hey, maybe discarding the 2 cards is like a little bit too much, I don't want to do that right away, I could go for Dragonic Overlord. So it's good, he's amazing, he's just like an extra card to play. The card that I tested was actually a 3rd one. I tested the deck a lot like this, and it worked perfectly for me, but I think it's good to have in like the one spot that you could change it to whatever you like. And that's actually this spot. You could change it to Dragonic Overlord, the OG Blademaster, or this guy who pretty much surges your grade 3s. So that's up to you. And for the last 2 grade 3s that we add to the deck is 2 Waterfall. Then you would say, hey D-Boy, why don't you run a 3rd Waterfall? Again, because Waterfall and the OG Blademaster are 2 cards that you do not want to ride as a first ride target because they don't do that much, because both of them require you to have a grade 3 in the soul. And that's why I am very happy to be able to run the Dragonic Overlord, because he is very good first ride target and he pressures your opponent in a different way. And that's it for the grade 3 lineup. Now we jump to the grade 2 lineup, but this is pretty much like all the stables that we have. So we run 4 copies of Doa. This is the card that searches out the grade 1, of course. So I think that you guys already know what it does. If you do not, it's pretty much counterblast 1 when placed. You search down him, and then they kind of make the column with each other. And the second ability is if you have, or if your opponent does not have any Regards, when this guy attacks, your opponent cannot guard with normal units. So that's pretty good, because sometimes it's just like it makes them hard to guard against this guy, and they have like to discard most of the triggers, which means that your Waterfall will be more effective. The card that then we add in is one of the new cards that is revealed. This is a double rare from the new set. What she does is on place, you search to the top 5 of your deck and you add in a Doa or Goran to your hand. And her first ability is, of course, if your opponent does not have any Regard on the field, then she gains an extra 5k. But pretty much she's a good right target because she's a 10k, while this guy is only a 9k, and also she's disposable. You could attack with her, intercept with her. She has already done what she was supposed to do. And last but not least, for the grade 2 lineup, we add the 3 copies of Berserk Dragon. For me, I actually really like this guy. He gives you a draw power, but he also is another card that is disposable to discard, to ride. It's very amazing. And I only add in like the 1 extra grade 2, so it's only 11, it's not 12, because I like to play 1 extra grade 1, because the grade 1s in this deck are also very good, and also because of the formation that I will show you later in the combo. While the grade 1 have more shield value, it's good to have more grade 1s in your deck than grade 2s. Then we add in the 4 copies of Goran. Well, this is the card that again works good with the grade 2. If your opponent has no regards on the field, he gains plus 5k. If he is boosting the right card, which is Doa, then he gets the ability, if that attack hits, you counterblast 1, you draw a card, and you soul charge 1. So that's always good. It's interesting to have more soul. Although this deck does not use that much soul, it's good to have the hit ability to draw more. Although it was good if the hit ability was a counter charge and not a counter blast. But hey, it is what it is. Then we add in the 4 copies of Lava Flow Dragon. And this is where a lot of people will be triggered. Because Lava Flow Dragon is not yet revealed, you would say, hey, how do you know that we will get this card? Well, we will get this card because we're getting all these Stride Folders back. His second ability will be on place, check the top 5 cards of your deck, add a grade 3 to your hand. If you add a card, then discard a card. Which is perfect for this deck because you play a lot of draw triggers and you play different grade 3s. And you want to get that Soen, sweet Soen to your hand. And pretty much you want to get your good first right target. You don't want to go to the OG Blademaster or to Dragonic Waterfall as a first grade 3. His first ability, we don't know yet. That is unknown. That's when he gets the extra plus 5k. And I think that that ability will be like if your opponent has no rearguards, or if they have 2 or less rearguards, or if you have retired a rearguard this turn, then pretty much you gain the extra 5k. We'll have to wait and see what that skill is, but pretty much you will play 4 copies of him in this deck because you need that grade 3 sweet searching. Then we add in the 3 copies of Mobius. And this is a card that's, or Mobius? Yeah, Mobius. Well, this is a card that a lot of people underestimate. What this card does is when he boosts, and if your opponent has no rearguards on the field, they have to guard that attack that he boosts with 2 cards from their hands or more. So, pretty much a battle door effects, but it's very good if you go force 2. It's really amazing if you go force 2. The old deck went force 1, which then this card would be less effective. But even then, I did like to play this card in the protect matchup, because if they use a perfect guard or a protect marker, they still need to discard an extra card, or I mean guard with an extra card, so it costs them 3 cards from their hand, which is a lot. And having this card on the field, especially by having like the 2 force markers, the Soen, the token, is really devastating in the right matchup. So this is good for force 2. So what about force 1? What about our plan B? What about if we want to go to, as I explained, the Soen, then the Blademaster, or Soen, then Dragonic Waterfall? What is then the good booster? Because Dragonic Waterfall will be guarded with more than 1 card. So then we would have this Purple Gem or Jam Carbuncle. This card is so freakishly good that it just hurt that it's just a common. What it does, pretty much whenever your Vanguard restands, she gains plus 15k. So she's a 5k, but she becomes a 20k booster or attack or whatever. So you would say, hey, you don't really restand in this deck. Your Vanguard does not restand. How does she gain the power? Well, if she stays on the field 1 turn, you start your turn with a stand and a draw. And that's when she already gains that 15k. It works like that because it's just once per turn, and instead, whenever your Vanguard restands, she gains the power. So that's really good. That's actually kind of cheating, but hey, it works, so why not? And putting her behind the waterfall, which I will show you later, will make a huge waterfall. It will make a 73 attacking waterfall by your 3rd ride. And that's a lot. That means that your opponent would need like a 3 heal triggers and a 15k to do a dude pass, which is a lot. So I'll explain the combo later, but she also being a 5k is very important sometimes if you want your opponent to rush you, if you want that sweet retirement and draw from your Berserk Dragon, although you always get the draw, but it's always nice. It feels nice that you could retire as well. So she's good. Carbuncle, in my opinion, is very good, and having those 5 boosters in there is definitely what makes this deck very strong. So some people would like to play different grade 1 lineup, because as you can see, we do not play Sable, we also do not play Ermos, and we also do not play the new grade 1. This card, or girl, this card gets, when she's placed, you Soul Blast 1, and then you put one Doa or Gurren back to your deck, and then you shuffle your deck. And for every card you put back, she gains extra 5k. She could put one grade 1 and one grade 2, so that's when she could get the extra 10k at max. But the problem with her is you don't want her in the field, you want better boosters. Then you would say, hey, Ermo and Sable could do that because you could just get rid of them to draw cards and countercharge. Yes and no. What do you want to draw? You don't really want to draw because you already have everything you have. And if you wait until you retire something, then that's pretty much too late, because you want the tag team in your hand before you retire. Otherwise, maybe even with someone, you will not retire at all if you don't have at least this to get you the right card. So they are not really needed in this deck. Also very overpriced cards to add in a deck where you don't really need them. It's way better to play the new cards, like the cards that I showed you, the 5 boosters, the Carbuncle and the Mobius. They are amazing. They are really good. You need to test these, then you need to judge them. And again, this deck list is based on me testing it. This is not theory. This is me really testing this deck. If we get to the trigger lineup, then we start in with 4 heals, of course. We add in the 7 draws, and that's really interesting because the old deck could play 5 draws or 6 draws, but now you could play 7 draws because you rely on Force 2. Most of the times you go plan A, which does not really need Waterfall to win. No, it just goes so on, and Force 2, another Force 2, and that's it. By the second right target, you're set to go. You don't really need to do anything more. You just want to play the game and destroy your opponent. And then we add in the 5 crits. And that's pretty much it for the trigger lineup. It's really good to be able to discard these because it does not hurt. The same with kind of your quick shield. You could just discard the quick shield, and that just feels so awesome because the quick shield is just like you got it for free, so why not just discard it? For the starter, we run the OG Blademaster starter, although I could understand you guys that you really want to play, let's say, Conroe, because Conroe looks amazing. But hey, you could play whatever you like to play. Okay, so that's kind of it for the comparison and the deck profile. Now I will show you the combo and how does this deck work. Also, why are these boosters so important? Alright, now we get to the actual combo and how does this deck work. Well, pretty much most of the time, you will want to ride into your Lava Flow Dragon. Your Lava Flow Dragon will let you search one of your grade 3s to your hand, the one that you need. Most of the time you want to go Soen as a first ride target. If you really don't have him or you can't get him to your hand, then you would rather go for the Dragonic Overlord than for one of these two. So let's say that you get the Soen because you play 4 copies of it and you kind of have a searcher as well. So you already have secured one Soen in your hand, which means you're good to go. Then you have to choose from that moment, what do you want to do? Do you want to go for plan A or do you want to go for plan B? Plan A is pretty much you go Soen, then you go another Soen, and that's good because then you have 2 Force 2 markers, and that's good. You don't really need to ride anymore to something different. That's good. If you want to go for plan B, then you want to go for Force 1. And Force 1 would mean that you ride into the Soen first, then you want to ride into any other Blademaster. It does not matter. He works good because he has a crit, and he works good because he gives power. So it doesn't really matter which one you go into, any of these two. And then you want to go to your Dragonic Waterfall. If you want to go for the plan B, so for Waterfall, remember you need to have the Waterfall because you only have 2 copies of Waterfall. And that's why it's plan B, because we don't really rely on it that much, but it's possible. So then you go to the grade 2 lineup, or let's say your grade 2 ride. You already have secured the Soen in your hand, so you're good to go. right targets that you have is Berserk Dragon, especially if they rushed you back, and of course the Searcher. So let's say you ride into this and you get to counterblast, to draw, and retire. If they do not have anything to retire, then you could also not retire, just draw. Then you put this on the field and she searches out your Doa. You don't put it on the field yet, but you just put it in your hand. It's just waiting for the next turn. And if your opponent does not have anything on the field because he retired it, she gained the plus 5k. Then if you already have one of these boosters, you could put it on the field. So let's say you have this, you put this on the field. If not, you could put that, one of these two, depending on which plan you want to go. That's why I said you need to choose plan A or plan B. If you want to go for plan B, so you want to use force 1, then you want her on the field because she gains a lot of power, which makes your waterfall very effective. If you want to go for plan A, so force 2, then you would rather have him on the field. But it doesn't really matter. Let's show you the combo with both of them, as you could have both of them. It's good, it's alright. So these will be behind your Vanguard. You could attack with this first, then attack with that, depending on what you want to do. Boosted, of course. Alright, then in this turn, when they attack into you, you want to intercept with this because she's not needed anymore. So just intercept with her and then she's gone. Remember, you need to get 1 damage because you want the damage to use with him. But most of the time they will give you the counterblast, especially if they go to grade 3 first. So if they went first, then you have also that sweet quick shield in your hand that you want to discard with your Blademaster. Or you could guard with, whatever you like. Alright, then it's your turn again. You restand, and if you have restand her, then she already gets the plus 15. Alright, so she's a 20k booster. Now you ride into your Soen, because your Vanguard restand, she gets the power, and you get the force 2 marker because we are going for our plan A. If you want to go for plan B, again, you go force 1. That's also good. So let's do both. Alright, now you want to have this on the field. You counterblast 1 and you get the tag team ready. Alright, now you want to discard 2 cards from your hand to be able to call your vision token. And of course, we're going with my favorite art, which is the Titan. Alright, so we get the Titan vision token on the field and everything is ready. The card that you want behind the Titan is another bias. This is the booster, and this is why we don't really use Ermos or Sable, because they are not as good as these guys to be able to boost these tokens. The whole game, this column will be the same, and this column will be the same. There is no reason to call anything else to the field. So you just keep it like this. If you play against retire clans, they retire this, then you want to get them back. If they retire this, then it's okay. If they retire that, then you could just put more on the field. That's why we play 5 of these. 5 boosters to put 1 here and 1 there. Which one? Depending on the matchup and depending on the one that you have in your hand. Alright? So from this moment on, your vision token will get the extra 10k from the ability of your Blademaster, because you already have retired your opponent's field because you have both of them on the field. So he gained plus 10k, and this guy also gained plus 10k, and he gets plus 5k. And that's how your field would look like. Then you could attack with the token first. You could also attack with your Vanguard first. You could attack with this first, depending on what you want to do. This also has like the sweet hit effect. So sometimes I like to attack with this first. Sometimes I like to leave this as the last attack with this or this, and then at the end attack with that. And now, let's say that at the end of the turn, of course, this guy will retire himself. So that's good, especially like in the Fang matchup. Then they don't have anything else to retire. And they will be retiring this most of the time if they are a retire clan. And then your field would look like this. Alright? Then you get into your second right targets. Again, you need to ride a Blademaster right here. If you went force 2, then you want to ride into Soen. If we went force 1, then it doesn't matter which one you ride. Both of them are good. Alright, you get another force 2 marker which you place right here. If you gain a force 1 marker, then you place it right there. It really depends on which one you want to, but this is how it would look like. Alright, now you get to call another one. If you don't have any in your hand, then you do need to guard this one. If you are chilling on someone, then it's alright, you don't really have to, but in the most situations it's good if you do, because now you could keep retiring your opponent's field and you gain that power. So now we get another vision token. The vision token will chill right here, and because you retire your opponent's field by discarding 2 cards and having both of them, you gain the sweet power. She also gained the power because your Vanguard restand this turn, and that's 5k, and this is 10k. Alright, your field would look like this again. In the protect matchups, again, these guys would look and work amazing, especially with force 2. If you are going with force 1, then you would rather use her, and if you rely more on the old Blademaster, which is good, especially with force 1, so if you lay 3 copies of this, then you would also rather have another copy of her right there, because she will make this column strong, and otherwise it would be weak. Although, even if it does not get the 10k, your opponent needs 2 cards to guard this, which is just irritating for your opponent to deal with. Alright, then you attack again, and pretty much at the end of the turn, he gets retired, and then most of the time they will kill this. And your field, again, would look like this. And again, you're doing the same thing. Now, if you went force 2, then you could stay on him. You could ride another one, but that's not needed, because you don't really need a marker right here, because he will be chilling right here, and he does not need a marker. But hey, if you have enough cards in your hand, you could do that. If you go force 1, that's when you want to ride into the waterfall. So the scenario going with force 2, you would leave it like this, or you could ride another copy of him and get like another marker right here. But let's say that you went force 1, so now you ride the waterfall, and now you gain the extra marker. You put that on your Vanguard. She gained the 15k because you have already restanded. And your field would look like this, right? This is the force 1 combo. Okay, so your field would look like this pretty much, and now you could move this to the front row. You could call something else to the field, whatever you like. You could call this right here, like Soul Blast, give him an extra 10k. Hey, why not? Move this to the front if you have nothing in your hand. But you also have some disposable cards that you could put on the field, that you could also guard with, intercept with. It's just up to you to do whatever you like. You could do it like this. If they have some interceptors, you could do it like this. But most of the time, just put some stuff on the field that you could take out their interceptors so they could not intercept waterfall. Now, waterfall attacks, if they're chilling on 4 damage, just take out their interceptors first and then attack with waterfall right away. Most of the time, because you have already put so much pressure on them, they ended up with having 4 or 5 damage, and that's good for waterfall to go. If they're only chilling on 3 damage, then it's iffy. You need to really look at your triggers, because you only play 5 crits, which is not much at all. So you attack with waterfall, you Soul Blast one of your grade 3s, and waterfall will gain the extra 10k, and of course the crit. So from this moment on, we could count how strong this attack is, because this is 20k booster, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 73. 73 would mean if your opponent is sitting on a 13k Vanguard, that would be 33, 53, 73. So now with 3 heals, with 60k shield, you are at the same amount. And then they need to add in at least a 15k extra shield. So this is 75k shield to be able to do E2 to pass. And that is ridiculous, because this gets you the extra 20k on your already strong waterfall attack. And that is so freakishly good that it's just actually very disgusting for your opponent to deal with. And that's when you would say, okay, if the waterfall combo is so good, why don't you rely on waterfall? Well, because the force 2 is even better, and it's just faster. For waterfall to be this strong, you need to ride into waterfall second or third. If you ride into waterfall as a second ride target, so like this, and you don't even have her because like you play only 2 or maybe maximum 3 copies of her, so if you have another booster behind the waterfall, and that's when you talk about consistency of the deck. You attack with the waterfall, you soul blast your only grade 3, and this was already a mediocre turn because you could only go for waterfall. You did not retire your opponent's field, you did not draw, you did not get extra draft checks from the vision token, you're just attacking with the waterfall, you're hoping you could finish your opponent off. You can see extra 10k and a crit, and this is 13, 21, 31, 41, 51. 51, you say, hey, that's still great. 51 is an amazing number. Yes and no. With the amount of draw power that most decks have right now, 51 is really not that much, because if they are sitting on a 13k Vanguard, then this is already a 33, and this is pretty much, if you add one more heal, then you're sitting on the same, so you're 53. This is already a 1 to pass. Like an extra 10k in there, that's a 2 to pass. You could also do it like this, add in 2 crits, that's a 50k shield, that's 63. That's already a 2 to pass. So it's really not that much. Your opponent would have this in their hand. They could like intercept, they have some great 1s, some great 2s. I could see them, or we have seen them in the past, do it like this and add in just 1 great 1, and then it's also set to go. It's really not that much. And then after that, they will hit you back, and they will hit you hard. And you would need another waterfall again to be able to do this turn again. But if you ride into him multiple times, so if this is your setup, and if your setup is just force 2, then that's even better, because you will keep the pressure high on your opponent. Your opponent would need to guard this. They need to guard the vision token. They would have trouble with guarding your Doa, because your Doa also still have the guard restrict. And this deck is just wants to put pressure and pressure and pressure on your opponent. And you would not keep putting pressure if you want to go for waterfall, like the second right target. You want to go to it as a third right target. And that's why we play only 2 waterfalls, because he's an extra. He's a plan B, because usually you will go for force 2 and not force 1. But that's actually it for me to talk about this deck. I hope to hear your thoughts as well. Tell me what you think of this deck, because I've seen people make this deck very different, and they just want to put a lot of stables in it, but it does not make the deck stronger. Also, if you enjoy our content, give us a like, sub to our channel, and check our other social medias out, because we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Discord, we are on Instagram, we are everywhere. And also, we are a huge team. So if you need any help with something, you'd also contact us. Like if you need help with Vanguard 0, if you need help with building some decks, if you have trouble with some matchups, give us a message. We could definitely help you out. Thanks again for watching. Until next time.